The priest's hand trembles as he reaches for the sealed chest. He's waited 20 years for this moment. 20 years of service, of proving his worth, of demonstrating unwavering dedication to the gods and to the sacred order that maintains cosmic balance. Inside this chest, in the darkest corner of the temple's restricted archive, lies a papyrus that fewer than a dozen living men have ever read. Not because it contains dangerous magic or forbidden secrets, but because the knowledge it holds is so fundamental, so essential to the proper functioning of Egyptian religion, that it cannot be entrusted to those who haven't proven themselves absolutely reliable. His teacher stands beside him, watching, evaluating even now. "Remember," the old man says quietly, "what you are about to learn changes everything. The rituals you have performed for 2 decades, the words you have spoken, the offerings you have made, all of these will take on new meaning. You will understand why we do what we do. But with this understanding comes responsibility. The people need the gods. They need the festivals and the public ceremonies. They need to believe in divine order. What you are about to learn serves that need, but it must never undermine it." The seal breaks with a soft crack. The papyrus unrolls, and the priest begins to read. Within moments, his eyes widen. This is not what he expected. The theology he's been teaching, the stories he's been telling, they are true, but they are also something else. Layers beneath layers, meanings within meanings. He looks up at his teacher, questions forming on his lips. The old man nods slowly. "Yes," he says, "now you begin to understand. Now you are ready to learn what lies beneath the surface. But first, we must go back. We must start at the beginning, with a boy who knows nothing, who sees only what everyone sees, before he learns to perceive what lies hidden in plain sight." The sun rises over Thebes, perhaps during the reign of Ramesses II or Thutmose III. The specific pharaoh matters less than understanding the world we're entering. A world where the great temple of Karnak dominates the eastern bank of the Nile, its pylons towering above the city, its walls covered with images that tell stories the common people have heard since childhood. A young boy stands in the outer court, watching the morning rituals with fascination. His name is Amenhotep, and he has just begun his training as a Wab priest, the lowest rank of temple servant. His duties are simple: ritual purification, maintaining cleanliness in the outer areas, assisting senior priests with basic tasks. But even at this entry level, he's learning that the temple is not what it appears from outside. The public sees the festivals, the great processions when the god's statue is carried through the streets in its sacred bark, the offerings presented at the altar, the hymns sung by the chanters. They see power and majesty, divine presence made manifest. And this is real. This is true. But it is also incomplete. Amenhotep has already learned his first lesson about hidden knowledge, though he doesn't yet understand its significance. During his purification training, an older priest taught him the proper way to cleanse himself before entering the temple's inner areas. 4 times in cold water, reciting specific prayers, avoiding certain foods for days beforehand. The ritual seemed elaborate, excessive even, for someone who would only be cleaning floors and carrying offerings. But the senior priest explained, purity is not just about physical cleanliness. When you purify yourself, you are separating yourself from the outside world, from the chaos and disorder of daily life. You are preparing yourself to enter sacred space, to come into the presence of the divine. The water washes away more than dirt. It washes away the ordinary, the profane, the mundane. Each immersion takes you deeper into a different state of being. At the time, Amenhotep nodded and memorized the procedures, but he didn't truly understand. He thought purity was about not offending the gods with uncleanliness. He didn't grasp that it was about transformation, about crossing a threshold from one mode of existence to another. Now, months into his service, he's beginning to notice things. The way senior priests move through the temple with a different quality of attention. The way they pause before entering certain doorways, as though gathering themselves, centering their consciousness. The way they speak in the inner courts, their voices taking on different tones, their words chosen with careful precision. He notices that not all priests have access to all areas. The outer courts, where he works, are open to anyone who has undergone basic purification. But beyond the great hypostal hall, there are doors he cannot pass, chambers where only certain priests may enter. And beyond those, he has heard whispers of inner sanctums where only the high priest may go, where even the pharaoh must ask permission to enter. This spatial hierarchy mirrors hierarchy of knowledge. The public knows the myths as told in festivals and popular tales. The Wab priests learn more detailed versions, understanding connections and relationships between gods that aren't apparent in public worship. The higher priest, after the ritual, Amenhotep asks an older priest about what he heard. The man, a Hamnetcher who has served for 15 years, smiles knowingly. "You're beginning to pay attention," he says. "Good, that's the first step. But understanding what you heard, that will take years, decades perhaps. The knowledge we guard is not secret because we wish to hoard it, but because it requires preparation to comprehend. Without the proper foundation, the deeper teachings would be misunderstood, or worse, would undermine the very faith they're meant to illuminate." He gestures toward the outer court, where common people are bringing offerings to the god. "They believe the god lives in that statue," he says quietly. "And in a sense, this is true. The god's presence is made manifest through the statue during the opening of the mouth ceremony. The statue becomes a vessel for divine power. This is real, this is effective. Their prayers are heard, their offerings accepted. But," he pauses, choosing his words carefully, "but the reality is more complex than they understand. The statue is not the god, yet the god is truly present in the statue. The god is both transcendent, beyond all form and image, and immanent, present in every properly consecrated image. How can this be? How can the infinite be present in the finite? How can the eternal inhabit the temporal?" Amenhotep shakes his head, confused. The priest continues, "This is one of the great mysteries, and it is taught only to those who have proven they can hold both truths simultaneously, that the gods are both one and many, both transcendent and immanent, both utterly beyond human comprehension and intimately present in our lives. The public teaching emphasizes one side, the immanent, the accessible. The deeper teaching reveals the transcendent, the mysterious. Both are necessary, both are true." This conversation plants a seed in Amenhotep's mind. Over the following months, as he continues his duties and gradually advances in responsibility, he begins to see evidence of this layered knowledge everywhere. The hymns sung in public festivals have different versions used in private rituals, with additional verses that change their meaning. The mythological stories told to children have more complex variants known to priests, with details that reveal different understandings of divine nature. He learns that the temple library, which he is not yet allowed to enter, contains texts that interpret the public myths allegorically. The story of Osiris's death and resurrection, for instance, which the public understands as an account of an ancient event and a promise of afterlife, is also understood by educated priests as a description of cosmic cycles, of the relationship between order and chaos, of the daily death and rebirth of the sun, of the seasonal cycles of vegetation, of the initiation process every priest undergoes. One day, while cleaning near the library, Amenhotep overhears two senior priests discussing a text. The Book of Nut describes the sky goddess swallowing the sun each evening and giving birth to it each morning. The farmers understand this literally as explanation for where the sun goes at night. But we understand it as describing the relationship between the manifest and unmanifest, how all of creation emerges from and returns to the divine source, how the visible world is continuously being created and dissolved. The other priest nods. And yet, both understandings are valid. The farmer who sees only the literal meaning still participates in the truth. His offerings at sunset, his prayers at dawn, these are effective precisely because he believes in the goddess's literal swallowing and rebirth of the sun. His simple faith creates real connection to the divine. Our more complex understanding doesn't replace his, it complements it. We understand why the simple teaching works. This conversation reveals to Amenhotep something crucial about priestly knowledge. It is not that the priests are deceiving the public or that the popular religion is false. Rather, the priests understand the multiple levels at which religious truth operates. They know that symbols and myths work on different people at different levels, that everyone receives the truth they are capable of receiving, that religion must serve both the simple farmer and the sophisticated philosopher. As months turn to years, Amenhotep advances through the ranks of priesthood. He becomes a hemnetcher, a regular priest with more responsibilities and greater access to temple spaces. He is allowed to participate in more complex rituals, to read certain texts from the library, to receive instruction in theological matters beyond basic mythology. His education now includes formal study of what the priests call the hidden meanings. This is not a separate body of doctrine, but rather a way of reading and interpreting the public myths and rituals. He learns hermeneutical techniques, methods for uncovering layers of meaning in texts and practices. One of his teachers explains the principle of correspondence. Everything in the visible world has an invisible counterpart, the priest says. The temple building you see, with its pylons and courts and sanctuary, this physical structure corresponds to the structure of the cosmos. The progression from outer court to inner sanctuary mirrors the progression from the material world to the divine realm. The walls and doors between sections, these represent the boundaries between different levels of reality. He continues, when we process through the temple during rituals, we are not simply moving through physical space. We are enacting a spiritual journey, a movement from the outer to the inner, from the manifest to the hidden, from the many to the one. Understanding this transforms your participation in the ritual. You are no longer just walking through rooms, you are performing a sacred drama that mirrors cosmic processes. Amenhotep learns to read the temple's decorations with new eyes. The reliefs that cover every wall, which he once saw as mere decoration or historical record, are revealed to be teaching devices. Every image carries multiple meanings. A scene of the pharaoh smiting enemies is simultaneously historical record, political propaganda, religious affirmation, and esoteric teaching about the triumph of order over chaos, both in the cosmos and in the individual soul. The hieroglyphic inscriptions are particularly rich in hidden meanings. Amenhotep learns that the choice of which hieroglyphic sign to use for a word when multiple options exist is not arbitrary. Certain signs carry additional symbolic weight. The placement of signs, their size, their relationship to images, all these can modify or enhance meaning in ways invisible to those who haven't been trained to look. He discovers that some texts contain deliberate ambiguities, words or phrases that can be read in multiple ways depending on where you place mental pauses, which grammatical structure you impose. These ambiguities are not errors, but teaching devices, forcing the reader to consider multiple interpretations, to hold seemingly contradictory meanings simultaneously. His mathematical education also takes on new dimensions. He has always known that temple priests are trained in mathematics for practical purposes, calculating the calendar, determining festival dates, managing temple resources.
but now he learns that numbers themselves carry symbolic meanings beyond their quantitative value. The number 3, for instance, represents plurality, completion, divine perfection. Many gods appear in trinities or triads. The number 4 represents totality, the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 sons of Horus. 7 represents completion of a cycle, the 7 Hathors and determined destiny, the 7 sacred oils. These numerical patterns appear throughout temple design, ritual structure, mythological narratives. But the most profound mathematical knowledge concerns astronomical calculations. Amenhotep learns that the temple's orientation is precisely aligned with celestial phenomena. The main axis points to the sunrise on specific days of the year. Certain windows and openings are positioned so that sunlight illuminates particular statues or inscriptions at astronomically significant moments. This requires sophisticated astronomical knowledge. The priests have been observing the heavens for millennia, recording the movements of stars and planets, discovering the patterns that govern celestial cycles. This knowledge allows them to predict eclipses, to determine the heliacal rising of Sirius that signals the Nile's flood, to create a calendar that coordinates lunar months with the solar year. But the astronomical knowledge serves purposes beyond practical calendar keeping. The priests understand the heavens as a divine text, a book written by the gods themselves. The movements of celestial bodies are not random, but follow divine order. By studying the stars, the priests learn the patterns of cosmic harmony, the mathematical principles that govern existence. One of his astronomy teachers explains, "The sun's daily journey across the sky is not just a physical phenomenon to be measured. It is the visible manifestation of Ra's journey through the hours, his battle with the serpent of chaos, his continual triumph that maintains cosmic order. When we calculate the sun's position, we are not just tracking a celestial object, we are participating in the understanding of divine processes. We are reading the will of the gods as written in the heavens." This integration of practical knowledge with spiritual understanding characterizes all of Amenhotep's advanced training. Medicine, for instance, which he studies as part of his priestly education, is both empirical science and sacred art. The priests understand human anatomy through direct observation. They know which herbs and procedures effectively treat various ailments. They perform surgeries using sophisticated techniques. But they also understand illness as having spiritual dimensions. Disease can result from physical causes, but also from spiritual imbalance, from breaking taboos, from hostile magic. Effective healing requires addressing both levels. A physician-priest might prescribe herbal remedies for physical symptoms while also performing rituals to address spiritual causes, providing amulets for protection, recommending offerings to relevant deities. The medical texts Amenhotep studies contain both practical procedures and magical spells, seamlessly integrated. A spell to stop bleeding might include both practical instructions, applying pressure with specific materials, and magical words to be recited, invoking divine assistance. The priests see no contradiction in this. Both approaches address real aspects of the problem, physical and spiritual.
As Amenhotep advances further in his training, approaching the higher ranks of priesthood, he is introduced to increasingly sophisticated theological concepts. He learns about the doctrine of the hidden God, the teaching that behind all the named and imaged deities lies an ultimate reality beyond name and form. His teacher presents this carefully, aware of the potential for misunderstanding. The gods you have worshipped, Amun-Ra, Osiris, Isis, Ptah, these are real. They are not fictions or mere symbols. Divine power truly flows through them. Prayers addressed to them are truly heard. Their interventions in human life are real. Do not doubt this. But, he continues, these gods are also manifestations of a deeper reality. Like the sun's light refracting through water creates rainbow colors, each distinct, yet all from one source, the ultimate divine reality manifests through different aspects, different names and forms, appropriate for different circumstances and different levels of understanding. He uses an analogy that Amenhotep finds helpful. Consider your own nature. You are a son to your parents, a friend to your companions, a priest to the temple, a teacher to junior priests, perhaps someday a husband and father. Each role reveals a different aspect of who you are. Each is real, each is genuinely you, yet none exhausts your totality. Someone who knew you only as a priest would have true knowledge of you, but incomplete knowledge. So it is with the divine. Each God is a true aspect of ultimate reality, but no single God exhausts that reality. This teaching helps Amenhotep understand why the Egyptians worship so many gods without contradiction. The multiplicity of deities is not confusion or primitive thinking, but sophisticated recognition that the divine transcends any single conception. Different aspects of reality, different human needs, different levels of consciousness, all require different divine faces. He learns that different priesthoods emphasize different deities based on local traditions and temple dedications. But at the highest levels of priestly education, there is recognition of unity underlying diversity. A priest of Ptah and a priest of Amun, while serving different deities in their daily work, share understanding of deeper truths that transcend their particular traditions. This shared knowledge creates a kind of intellectual community among higher priests across Egypt. They may serve in different temples, in different cities, dedicated to different gods, but they speak a common theological language. They can discuss the mysteries with each other in ways impossible with the uninitiated, even lower-ranking priests of their own temples. Amenhotep experiences this for the first time during a gathering of priests from multiple temples for a major festival. In private conversations after the public ceremonies, he hears priests from different traditions discussing theological concepts with sophisticated nuance. They debate interpretations of ancient texts, share insights about ritual meanings, discuss astronomical observations and their religious significance. What strikes him most is their humility. These are men who have devoted decades to studying the deepest mysteries of Egyptian religion. Yet they speak with awareness of how much remains unknown, how limited even the most advanced human understanding is compared to the vastness of divine reality. They disagree about interpretations, but with respect, recognizing that multiple perspectives may all contain partial truth. One elder priest says something that Amenhotep never forgets. The greatest knowledge is knowing the limits of knowledge. We have learned much. We understand patterns and principles that guide existence. We have direct experience of divine presence in ritual and meditation. But the ultimate mystery remains mystery. The hidden God remains hidden. We approach, we catch glimpses, we experience moments of clarity. But the fullness of divine reality transcends human comprehension. This is not failure of understanding, but recognition of truth. The infinite cannot be contained by the finite mind. This teaching protects against arrogance. The priest's advanced knowledge doesn't make them superior to ordinary worshippers, but rather more aware of how much remains beyond human grasp. The farmer offering his simple prayer at the shrine may have as direct a connection to the divine as the most learned priest. The difference is not in the reality of the connection, but in the level of understanding about how that connection works. As Amenhotep approaches senior status, having served now for nearly 20 years, he is invited to participate in more advanced studies. He is introduced to texts that reinterpret familiar myths in philosophical terms. The creation accounts, for instance, which describe how the first god brought forth other gods and created the world, are revealed to contain sophisticated cosmological thinking about the relationship between unity and multiplicity, being and becoming, the eternal and the temporal. The Heliopolis creation myth describes Atum emerging from the primordial waters. bringing forth the first divine pair through his own power, who then generate further generations of gods. At a literal level, this is a mythological narrative explaining the origin of the cosmos. But Amenhotep learns to read it philosophically. His teacher explains, Atum represents the original unity, the undifferentiated divine reality before creation. The primordial waters, Nun, represent pure potentiality, the unmanifest from which all manifest forms emerge. Atum's act of creation through self-generation represents the mystery of how the one becomes many, how unity can contain and generate multiplicity without losing its essential oneness. The successive generations of gods represent progressive stages of manifestation, the divine reality differentiating itself into various principles and powers. Shu and Tefnut, air and moisture, are the first distinction in the undifferentiated unity. Geb and Nut, earth and sky, represent further differentiation into the fundamental structures of the cosmos. Each generation moves further from the original unity, becoming more specific, more material, more accessible to human perception. But, he emphasizes, this is not a temporal sequence in the way we normally understand time. These generations of gods don't happen in historical time like human generations. They represent logical priority, ontological levels. The one is logically prior to the many, the undifferentiated prior to the differentiated, but all exist simultaneously in a kind of eternal present. The myth uses narrative form, events happening in sequence, to describe relationships that transcend time. This kind of philosophical reading transforms Amenhotep's understanding of the myths he has known since childhood. He begins to see them as teaching stories that encode sophisticated ideas about metaphysics, cosmology, the nature of consciousness, the relationship between divine and human realms. The myths work on multiple levels simultaneously, satisfying both the simple believer, who receives moral and spiritual guidance from the narratives, and the philosopher, who finds deep truths encoded in the stories. He also learns about the ritual calendar and its deeper meanings. The great festivals that punctuate the Egypt year are not just commemorations of mythological events, they are participatory dramas that allow the entire community to engage with cosmic processes. The Opet festival, for instance, when the statue of Amun is carried from Karnak to Luxor and back, appears to the public as a celebration of the god's journey and a renewal of the pharaoh's divine power. And this is true, but priests understand additional meanings. The journey represents the marriage of divine principles, the union that generates renewed creation. The pharaoh's ritual participation restores his connection to divine power, ensuring his ability to maintain Ma'at, cosmic order. The beautiful festival of the valley, when images of gods visit the mortuary temples on the West Bank, ostensibly honors the dead and affirms continued relationship between living and deceased. Families visit tombs, make offerings, feast with their ancestors, but priests understand this festival as enacting the relationship between the visible and invisible worlds, the manifest and unmanifest, affirming that death is not ending, but transformation. Every major festival has these layers. The public participates at the level of myth and drama, experiencing emotional and spiritual benefits through participation in sacred time and space. The priests participate at the level of cosmic understanding, using the rituals to align themselves with divine processes to maintain the structures that support existence. Amenhotep learns that the daily temple ritual, performed every dawn, is perhaps the most important ritual of all, though the public never sees it. This ritual awakens the god, presents offerings, maintains the god's presence in the statue. But at a deeper level, the high priest performing this ritual is enacting the daily recreation of the cosmos. He is participating in Ra's triumph over chaos, ensuring that the sun will rise, that order will prevail, that existence will continue. The offerings presented to the god, bread and beer, meat and vegetables, incense and unguents, these are simultaneously physical sustenance for the god's Ka, symbolic recognition of divine provision, and magical acts that maintain cosmic balance. The priest presenting the offerings is giving back to the gods what the gods have given to humanity, creating a circuit of reciprocity that sustains both divine and human realms. When the priest recites the formula, the king gives an offering to Amun that he may give bread and beer, oxen and fowl to the Ka of. He is not simply transferring ownership of physical items, he is invoking the principle of divine generosity, affirming the flow of abundance from divine source to human recipient, maintaining the proper relationship between heaven and earth. As Amenhotep masters these understandings, he is gradually given access to more restricted areas of the temple. He enters rooms where the most sacred texts are stored, where the most powerful ritual implements are kept. He participates in ceremonies that only senior priests may witness. He learns about these special objects that concentrate divine power: the Waz scepter, the Ankh, the Jed pillar. These are not just symbols, but actual power objects. Properly consecrated and used by those who understand their nature, they can channel divine energy, can be used in healing, in protection, in maintaining cosmic order. The consecration of these objects requires knowledge of specific rituals and invocations. Not anyone can simply pick up an Ankh and use it effectively. The object must be awakened, must have its spiritual potential activated through proper ceremony. And the user must be properly prepared, must have developed the spiritual capacity to handle the energies involved. Amenhotep participates in the consecration of a new set of ritual vessels for the temple. The process takes days. The vessels are first physically purified, washed in water from the sacred lake, fumigated with incense. Then they undergo ritual purification, blessed by priests, sprinkled with natron, presented to various gods. Finally, they receive the opening of the mouth ceremony, the same ritual used to animate statues of gods and the dead. His teacher explains that this ceremony gives the objects spiritual life, makes them capable of holding and transmitting divine energy. Before this ceremony, these are merely well-crafted vessels. After, they become conduits for the sacred. The difference is not visible to the eye, but real nonetheless. These vessels will carry offerings to the gods. They must be worthy of that function, must be spiritually as well as physically pure. This understanding of consecration extends to everything in the temple. The building itself underwent elaborate ceremonies when it was constructed and dedicated. The very ground was ritually purified. The foundation deposits, objects buried beneath the corners, were carefully chosen and consecrated. Every wall and pillar, every doorway and chamber received ritual attention to ensure the entire structure functions as sacred space. Amenhotep learns that entering the temple is not just walking into a building. It is crossing from profane to sacred space, from the ordinary world to a realm where divine presence is concentrated. The series of purification rituals required before entering progressively separate the priest from normal consciousness, preparing him to function in this different mode of reality. He begins to understand why the hierarchy of access exists. It's not arbitrary or simply about maintaining priestly power, though that may be a secondary benefit. The restrictions protect both the sacred spaces and the people who might enter them unprepared. Someone who entered the inner sanctuary without proper preparation might be harmed, not by deliberate divine punishment, but by contact with energies they aren't equipped to handle. One of his teachers uses an analogy. A child should not handle a bronze knife, not because knives are evil, but because the child lacks the judgment and skill to use them safely. Similarly, the most sacred spaces and rituals should only be approached by those with proper training and development. The restriction serves both to protect the sacred from profanation and to protect the unprepared from harm. As Amenhotep continues his studies, he also learns practical skills that complement his theoretical knowledge. He studies the art of recitation, learning to pronounce the ancient texts with proper intonation and rhythm. He discovers that how words are spoken affects their power. The same text recited with correct technique has different effect than the same words spoken carelessly. This is not just about being careful with pronunciation. There are specific techniques for breath control, for vocal placement, for timing and pacing that increase ritual efficacy. Some invocations must be chanted in particular ways to achieve their intended effects. Some spells require specific voice qualities. Some whispered, some spoken forcefully, some sung. He learns that silence, too, is a ritual tool. Certain moments and ceremonies require complete silence, creating space for divine presence. The silence is not empty but full, pregnant with meaning and power. Learning to maintain the right quality of silence, neither nervous nor casual, but reverent and attentive, this is an advanced skill. His training includes physical disciplines as well. Certain rituals require specific postures or gestures. The position of the hands, the angle of the body, the direction one faces, all these matter. The priests have elaborate systems of sacred gesture, mudras in later traditions, that help focus consciousness and direct spiritual energy. He practices walking meditation, learning to move through the temple with the quality of attention appropriate to sacred space. Each step becomes an act of devotion, each movement intentional and mindful. This is quite different from ordinary walking. It requires sustained concentration, continuous awareness of one's position in relation to the sacred center, maintenance of proper internal attitude. Amenhotep also receives training in what might be called contemplative practices. He learns meditation techniques that help still the mind, that create inner silence where divine presence can be perceived. These practices are not merely personal spiritual development, though they are that. They are professional skills, essential for the higher functions of priesthood. Oracle priests, for instance, must be able to enter trance states where they can receive and transmit divine messages. This requires ability to quiet ordinary mental chatter, to become receptive to subtle impressions, to distinguish genuine divine communication from personal thoughts or wishful thinking. The training for this is rigorous, taking years to develop reliable skill. He learns breathing techniques that alter consciousness. By controlling the breath in specific ways, slowing it, making it rhythmic, priests can induce states of heightened awareness or deep relaxation. These altered states are tools for various purposes: preparation for ritual, enhancement of meditation, even for certain healing practices. The use of incense in rituals, he learns, is not just about creating pleasant atmosphere. Different incenses affect consciousness in different ways. Frankincense induces contemplative awareness. Myrrh creates solemnity and depth. Kaifi, the complex Egyptian incense, produces states particularly conducive to ritual work and meditation. The priests are trained to recognize these effects and use them intentionally. Amenhotep discovers that sound, too, is used deliberately to affect consciousness. The chanting of hymns, the rhythmic rattling of sistrums, the striking of bells or gongs, these create acoustic environments that alter awareness. The echoing acoustics of certain temple chambers amplify these effects. Ritual space is not just visual and spatial, but acoustic, designed to induce particular states of consciousness. As he progresses through his third decade of service, Amenhotep is recognized as a master priest. He is now one of those who train younger priests, who participate in the most sacred rituals, who have access to the deepest levels of temple knowledge. But he is also aware of how much he still has to learn. He meets priests who have served for 40, 50 years, who possess wisdom born of decades of practice and contemplation. They speak of subtleties he's just beginning to perceive, of depths of understanding he hasn't yet reached. The knowledge is inexhaustible. Each answer reveals new questions, each level of understanding opening into further mysteries. One evening, after a particularly complex ceremony, Amenhotep sits with a group of senior priests in the temple's restricted garden. They discuss the day's ritual, sharing insights and observations. The conversation ranges from technical matters, whether a particular recitation was performed correctly, to profound theological questions, the relationship between the one and the many, the nature of divine presence in cult statues. An elderly priest who has served for nearly 60 years shares a reflection. When I was young, like you, Amenhotep, I thought that eventually I would understand everything. I would learn all the secrets, master all the knowledge, comprehend the mysteries fully. And I have learned much. I know things that once seemed impossibly complex. I have experienced divine presence in ways that transformed my understanding of reality. But I have also learned that the mysteries are inexhaustible. Every answer reveals deeper questions. Every level of understanding opens onto further levels. The gods are infinite, and our finite minds can never fully comprehend infinity. We approach, we glimpse, we experience, but complete understanding, this is beyond human capacity. He smiles gently. And this is good. If we could fully understand the divine would not be greater than us. The mystery is not an obstacle to overcome, but the very nature of the sacred. We are not meant to eliminate mystery, but to enter into it, to live within it, to let it transform us. Another priest nods. This is why our knowledge is restricted, not just by rules, but by capacity. One cannot learn the deepest teachings until one has developed the consciousness to receive them. It's not about worthiness in a moral sense, though character matters. It's about capability. The advanced teachings literally cannot be understood without the foundation of earlier learning and practice. Consider mathematics, he continues. You cannot understand advanced calculation without first mastering basic arithmetic. Not because someone is preventing you, but because the advanced concepts build on and require the basic ones. Similarly, the deeper mysteries build on and require the foundations of basic theology, ritual practice, contemplative development. They cannot be simply told to someone unprepared. They must be grown into through stages. This conversation helps Amenhotep understand why the restriction of knowledge is not primarily about maintaining priestly power, though that may be a secondary effect. The primary reason is pedagogical, ensuring that knowledge is transmitted in proper sequence, that students develop the necessary foundation before moving to more advanced material. He reflects on his own education. If someone had tried to explain to his 20-year-old self what he now understands, he couldn't have grasped it, not because he was stupid or unworthy, but because he lacked the conceptual framework, the practical experience, the developed consciousness necessary to comprehend those teachings. He had to grow into understanding through years of progressive learning. The system of gradual advancement through priestly ranks serves this educational purpose. Each rank requires mastery of specific knowledge and skills. Promotion is not automatic, but based on demonstrated competence. This ensures that everyone working at a particular level has the necessary preparation. But Amenhotep also recognizes that not everyone advances to the highest levels. Some priests serve their entire careers in junior or middle ranks. This isn't necessarily because they lack intelligence or dedication. Different people have different aptitudes and interests. Some excel at ritual performance, but aren't drawn to philosophical speculation. Some are brilliant administrators, but don't develop deep contemplative capacities. The system accommodates this diversity. Everyone contributes according to their abilities and inclinations. The junior priest who maintains the temple's purity with meticulous care is performing essential work, perhaps more important in its way than the philosophical speculation of senior theologians. The temple functions because different people perform different roles, each necessary, each valued. Amenhotep himself discovers his particular strengths lie in ritual performance and teaching. He becomes known as an exceptional ritualist, performing ceremonies with precision and grace that younger priests admire and try to emulate. He has a gift for explaining complex concepts in ways that make them accessible to students without oversimplifying. He is assigned to train new priests, introducing them to the temple's ways, teaching them the basic knowledge and practices they need to begin their priestly work. He finds this work deeply satisfying. He remembers his own confusion and uncertainty as a young Wab priest. Now he can guide others through those early stages, helping them avoid unnecessary struggles, encouraging them when the learning seems overwhelming. He discovers that teaching deepens his own understanding. Explaining concepts to students forces him to clarify his own thinking, to find the essential core of complex ideas, to see connections he hadn't previously noticed. His students' questions challenge him, sometimes revealing gaps in his own knowledge, sometimes opening new perspectives on familiar material. One of his students asks a question that stops him short. They're discussing the nature of the gods, and the student asks, if the gods are manifestations of ultimate divine reality, and that reality is beyond name and form, then are we really worshiping the ultimate divine or just its manifestations? And if we're worshiping manifestations, how is that different from worshiping created things rather than the creator? Amenhotep pauses, recognizing the genuine philosophical problem the student has identified. This is the kind of question that requires careful response, one that could lead to misunderstanding if answered hastily. You've identified one of the great paradoxes, he says slowly. The answer is not simple, and different teachers might emphasize different aspects. But consider this. The manifestations are not separate from the ultimate reality. They are not created things in the sense of being made by the ultimate divine and then existing independently of it. They are the ultimate divine expressing itself in accessible forms. When you honor a moon, you are not honoring something other than the ultimate divine. You are honoring the ultimate divine as it has chosen to make itself known. The manifestation is a true expression, not a false or lesser thing. It's like if you've never met someone, but you receive a letter from them, the letter is not the person, but it genuinely communicates their thoughts and presence. Through the letter, you encounter something real about the person, even though the paper and ink are not the person themselves. The student considers this. So the gods are like letters from the ultimate divine? In a sense, Amenhotep replies, though letters from someone who is everywhere present, who is in some way identical with the letters themselves, even while transcending them. The analogy breaks down, as all analogies for the divine eventually do, but it points toward truth. When we worship the gods, we are worshiping the ultimate divine as it has chosen to reveal itself to us. We are engaging with reality at a level we can comprehend while remaining open to the greater mystery beyond comprehension. The student nods, satisfied for now, though Amenhotep knows these questions will return in new forms as the young priest's understanding deepens. This is how learning works in the temple tradition, not through systematic lectures that cover all material definitively, but through ongoing engagement with questions that deepen over time. Amenhotep also learns from senior priests who share insights they've gained through long experience. One teaches him about reading omens, interpreting signs that indicate divine will or future events. This is not fortune-telling in a superstitious sense, but rather skilled observation combined with understanding of patterns. The priest explains, the gods communicate through natural phenomena, through unusual occurrences, through dreams and visions. Learning to read these signs requires both technical knowledge, knowing what various symbols and events traditionally signify, and intuitive sensitivity, feeling what a particular sign means in a specific context. For instance, seeing a particular bird at dawn might generally be considered favorable. But if that bird appears injured or behaving strangely, the interpretation changes. You must consider all factors, the specific circumstances, the question being asked, the overall context. This is art as much as science, requiring experience and judgment that come only through years of practice. Amenhotep studies the traditional omen texts, compilations of observed correspondences between signs and subsequent events. If the moon appears red, there will be unrest in the land. If a cat enters the temple sanctuary unbidden, the god is pleased with recent offerings. These aren't arbitrary superstitions, but recorded observations accumulated over centuries. Yet he also learns that interpretation must be flexible. The texts provide guidelines, not absolute rules. A skilled priest considers the traditional meanings, but also trusts intuition and considers circumstances. Two priests might interpret the same omen differently, both validly, because they're asking different questions or working in different contexts. This combination of traditional knowledge and personal judgment characterizes much of advanced priestly practice. The tradition provides the framework, the accumulated wisdom of millennia. But living practice requires adaptation to specific situations, application of general principles to particular cases, wisdom that comes from experience rather than just learning. Amenhotep also participates in the annual nilometer readings, measuring the flood's height to predict the year's agricultural prospects. This is crucial practical knowledge, determining how much land will be inundated, how abundant the harvest will be. But it's also sacred knowledge, reading the intention of Hapi, god of the inundation, understanding whether the gods are blessing Egypt with abundance or teaching through scarcity. The nilometer readings are recorded meticulously, creating records spanning centuries. These records allow priests to recognize long-term patterns, to understand the river's cycles, to make predictions based on extensive data. This is empirical science, systematic observation and recording of natural phenomena. But it's also religious practice, reading divine providence in natural processes. This integration characterizes Egyptian religion at its highest levels. There is no conflict between empirical observation and religious understanding, between natural pattern and divine will. The patterns observed in nature are divine order made manifest. Studying them is simultaneously science and theology. Amenhotep also learns about the calendar and its deeper meanings. The Egyptian calendar, with its 12 30-day months plus 5 epigomenal days, is a practical tool for organizing time. But it's also a sacred structure that coordinates human activity with cosmic rhythms. The year begins with the heliacal rising of Sirius, the moment when that star becomes visible just before dawn after a period of invisibility. This astronomical event coincides approximately with the Nile's flooding, making it a natural New Year marker. But the priests understand this connection as more than coincidence. The star's return and the flood's arrival are synchronized expressions of divine order, the same cosmic pattern manifesting in heaven and earth. The 5 epigomenal days, added to make the year align better with the solar cycle, are called the days upon the year, and are considered liminal time, neither fully part of the old year nor the new year. These days are associated with the birth of certain gods and are considered simultaneously dangerous and powerful, a time when the normal boundaries between realms are weakened. The months themselves are associated with different deities and have different qualities. Certain types of activities are particularly auspicious in certain months. Agricultural work, religious ceremonies, even medical treatments are ideally scheduled according to the calendar's sacred structure. The calendar doesn't just measure time, it interprets time, revealing its qualitative dimensions. Amenhotep learns to read the calendar as a book of divine wisdom. The rhythm of festivals throughout the year creates a pattern of sacred time that shapes Egyptian life. The great festivals, Opet, the beautiful festival of the valley, the Sed festival celebrating the pharaoh's jubilee. These are not just commemorations, but participatory dramas that connect people to cosmic realities. Between the major festivals are numerous smaller observances, days sacred to particular deities, monthly festivals aligned with lunar phases, daily rituals that maintain cosmic order. The calendar is dense with sacred occasions, creating a sense that every day has religious significance, that time itself is sacred. This contrasts with how ordinary Egyptians experience time. Farmers primarily track time by agricultural seasons, by the flood cycle. Merchants track time by market days and trade seasons. But priests perceive time as continuously sacred, every moment part of a divine pattern, every day requiring ritual attention to maintain the relationship between human and divine realms. As Amenhotep approaches his 40th year in the priesthood, he is among the most senior priests in his temple. He has served through the reigns of multiple pharaohs. He has seen young priests he trained themselves become teachers. He has participated in thousands of rituals, read hundreds of texts, engaged in countless theological discussions. Yet, he is still learning. A new generation of priests brings fresh perspectives, asks questions that challenge established interpretations, discovers connections that earlier scholars missed. The tradition is living, not frozen, continuously deepening as new insights are integrated with ancient wisdom. He participates in a project to compile and organize the temple's ritual texts. Over centuries, numerous versions of various rituals have accumulated, with minor variations in wording or procedure. The goal is not to impose rigid uniformity, but to preserve the variations while understanding their relationships, creating a reference that future priests can consult. The work requires careful study of texts, some quite ancient, comparing versions, analyzing differences. Amenhotep discovers that many variations reflect different theological emphases or local traditions. What seemed like simple textual variation actually represents different interpretations of ritual meaning. For instance, in different versions of the daily offering ritual, the order in which items are presented varies. Some versions present bread first, others begin with incense. These aren't random differences, but reflect different understandings of ritual logic. Presenting bread first emphasizes the god's need for sustenance. Beginning with incense emphasizes purification and the creation of a sacred atmosphere before material offerings. Both orders are valid, both work, but they encode different theological priorities. Recognizing this helps Amenhotep understand that ritual is not primarily about mechanical correctness, but about intentional meaning. The specific procedures matter less than the consciousness with which they're performed and the understanding that informs them. This realization transforms his approach to teaching ritual. Rather than simply drilling students in correct procedures, he emphasizes understanding why things are done. When students grasp the meaning and purpose, they can perform rituals with genuine intentionality rather than rote memorization. He teaches them that ritual is a language, a way of communicating with the divine through symbolic action. Like any language, it has grammar and vocabulary that must be learned, but fluency requires more than knowing rules. It requires understanding how to create meaning, how to express intention, how to engage in genuine dialogue. One of his advanced students asks about innovations in ritual. If we understand the principles, can we create new rituals or modify existing ones? Or must we only preserve what has been handed down? Amenhotep considers carefully before responding. The tradition is both stable and living. The core rituals, especially the daily temple service and the great festivals, these should be preserved carefully. They've been refined over millennia, they work, they maintain the cosmic order we depend on. Changing them without deep understanding could have unforeseen consequences. But, he continues, within the tradition, there is room for variation and development. Personal devotional practices can be more flexible. New hymns can be composed if they align with traditional theology. Minor elements of ritual can be adapted to specific circumstances. The key is understanding the principles well enough to know what is essential and what is variable. Think of it like building a house. The foundation and load-bearing structure must be sound, according to established principles. But decoration, room arrangement, specific details, these can vary according to preference and need. Similarly, the theological foundation and ritual structure must be maintained, but expression, emphasis, local adaptation, these have some flexibility. This balance between preservation and development has characterized Egyptian religion for millennia. The core remains stable, providing continuity and reliability. But the tradition evolves, absorbing new influences, developing new emphases, responding to changing circumstances. This organic development is quite different from either rigid fundamentalism or chaotic innovation. As Amenhotep moves through his 5th decade of service, his hair now gray, his movements slower but still graceful, he becomes a living repository of temple knowledge. Younger priests seek him out for consultation on difficult questions. Temple administrators ask his advice on important decisions. He has become one of the elders, the keepers of tradition who ensure continuity across generations. He reflects on his journey from that uncertain young Wab priest to his current position. The progression was gradual, each stage building on previous learning, each new responsibility emerging naturally from demonstrated competence. He never felt the restriction of knowledge as arbitrary or oppressive, because each level revealed depths that took years to absorb before he was ready for more. Now he understands what his early teachers meant when they spoke of layers of meaning. The myths and rituals he learned as a child remain true, but he perceives dimensions in them he couldn't have imagined then. Like looking at a temple relief. As a child, he saw pictures. As a young priest, he learned to read the hieroglyphs. As a mature priest, he understands the theological meanings encoded in both image and text. And now he perceives connections and resonances that reveal the relief as part of a comprehensive symbolic system spanning the entire temple. The restriction of knowledge he now sees is not primarily about power or exclusivity, but about pedagogy and protection. Knowledge is restricted because it requires foundation to comprehend, because advanced teachings can be misunderstood without proper preparation, because certain practices can be harmful if attempted by the unprepared. But the system is not perfect. He has seen knowledge restricted for the wrong reasons. Teachers who hoarded knowledge to maintain status. Administrators who valued hierarchy more than learning. The human tendency toward control and exclusivity can corrupt even well-intentioned systems. The tradition must continuously be renewed by genuine seekers committed to wisdom over power. He has also seen the limitations of the restriction system. Some capable people were denied advancement due to social class or family politics rather than lack of ability. Some genuinely profound insights remained in obscurity because they came from marginalized sources. The system preserved much, but also lost opportunities. Yet, overall, Amenhotep believes the system has served Egyptian civilization well. The accumulated wisdom of millennia has been preserved and transmitted. The rituals that maintain cosmic order continue to be performed correctly. Each generation of priests receives the heritage of thousands of years of spiritual seeking and understanding. One evening, sitting in the temple garden as the sun sets, Amenhotep watches a group of young priests practicing ritual movements. They stumble occasionally, their coordination not yet perfected, their understanding still developing. But they're learning, just as he learned, just as his teachers learned, just as priests have learned for countless generations. He thinks about the continuity this represents. The young priests performing these movements are enacting patterns established thousands of years ago. The words they're learning to chant were composed by priests who died centuries before Amenhotep was born. The knowledge they're beginning to acquire has been refined through countless generations of study and practice. This continuity creates something larger than any individual. Each priest contributes their small part, adding their insights, preserving the tradition for the next generation, participating in something that transcends personal mortality. Through this collective endeavor spanning millennia, humanity maintains its relationship with the divine, preserves understanding of sacred realities, creates meaning and order in the cosmos. But Amenhotep also knows that nothing is permanent. Egypt has endured for over 2,000 years already, but kingdoms rise and fall, civilizations transform, knowledge can be lost. The tradition he serves is not eternal in its specific forms, however ancient it seems. One day, perhaps centuries hence, perhaps sooner, the temples may fall silent. The rituals may cease. The knowledge may be scattered. Yet, he trusts that the deepest truths the tradition preserves are eternal, even if their specific expressions change. The divine reality that Egyptian religion engages is not dependent on Egyptian forms. If Egyptian civilization falls, if the temples crumble, if the hieroglyphs become unreadable, the sacred mysteries will find new expressions in new cultures and new times. The next morning, Amenhotep participates in the daily temple ritual, as he has done for nearly 50 years. The high priest performs the ceremony in the inner sanctuary while Amenhotep assists from an antechamber. The familiar words and actions flow with practiced ease, yet he remains fully present, performing each gesture with complete attention, speaking each phrase with genuine devotion. This is the paradox of ritual. It becomes easier with practice, yet must never become merely mechanical. The goal is to achieve such mastery that the external performance requires little conscious attention, freeing consciousness to engage the deeper dimensions of the rite. Like a musician who has mastered technique and can focus on expressing meaning, or a craftsman whose hands know the work so well that mind can rest in contemplative awareness. After the ritual, the high priest invites Amenhotep to the restricted archive. "There is something I want you to see," he says. They walk through passages Amenhotep knows well, past chambers he has entered countless times, to a door he has rarely approached. The high priest unlocks it, revealing a small room Amenhotep has never entered. Inside is a chest, ancient, its wood dark with age. The high priest opens it carefully, removing a papyrus scroll wrapped in linen. "This text," he says quietly, "is one of the temple's most precious possessions. It was copied from a document already ancient when our dynasty began. Very few priests in each generation are permitted to read it. I have determined that you should be one of them." Amenhotep's hands tremble slightly as he accepts the scroll. After 50 years, there are still texts he has not read, knowledge he has not received. The restriction is not arbitrary denial, but recognition that some teachings are too easily misunderstood, too profound to grasp without the deepest preparation. He unrolls the papyrus carefully. The hieroglyphs are archaic, difficult to read, but gradually their meaning becomes clear. The text discusses the nature of the ultimate divine, the hidden reality behind all the named gods. It speaks of consciousness and cosmos, of the relationship between the one and the many, of how the infinite expresses itself through finite forms. Much of what the text says, Amenhotep already knows, has learned through decades of study and contemplation. But there are passages that strike him with fresh insight, that articulate truths he has intuited but couldn't quite express, that connect ideas in ways he hadn't fully grasped. One passage particularly moves him. "The gods are real, and the gods are one. The one is real, and the one is many. Both truths must be held without dissolving either into the other. The path of wisdom is not to choose between unity and multiplicity, but to perceive their mysterious identity. The simple believer who honors the many gods with sincere devotion touches the same reality as the philosopher who contemplates the one. All paths that lead with genuine intention toward the sacred reach the same destination, though travelers describe the journey differently according to their capacities and perspectives." Reading this, Amenhotep feels the culmination of his life's learning. This is what his teachers have been preparing him to understand. The restriction of knowledge was not to keep him in ignorance, but to ensure he had the foundation to properly comprehend these deepest mysteries. He looks up at the high priest, gratitude in his eyes. The older man nods, understanding. "You have served faithfully for 50 years. You have proven yourself worthy of this trust. But remember, What you have learned is not yours to possess, but to steward. You carry it for the next generation. When the time comes, you will recognize those ready to receive it, and you will pass it on as it has been passed to you, as it has been passed down through countless generations, reaching back to the very beginning of our sacred tradition. Amenhotep carefully re-rolls the papyrus, wraps it in its linen covering, places it reverently back in the chest. They leave the archive, the door locked again behind them, but Amenhotep carries with him what he has received, not just intellectual understanding, but living wisdom that will inform all his remaining service. The sun is setting over Thebes once more. Amenhotep stands in the temple's outer court, watching as worshippers come to pray, to make offerings, to seek blessing from the gods. They know nothing of what he has just experienced in the archive. They don't need to know. Their simple faith is genuine, their devotion real, their connection to the divine authentic. This is the wisdom at the heart of the Egyptian priestly tradition. Knowledge has levels, and each level serves its purpose. The farmer who prays for a good harvest, the merchant who gives thanks for safe travels, the mother who seeks healing for her child, each engages the divine at the level appropriate to their understanding and needs. Their religion is not false or lesser because it lacks theological sophistication. And the priest, with all his learning and all his experience, serves their needs. His deeper knowledge doesn't separate him from them, but equips him to better serve them. He understands how the rituals work, why the prayers are effective, how divine power flows through consecrated images and spaces. But this understanding is in service to their faith, not superior to it. As darkness falls and the last worshippers depart, as the temple grows quiet and the evening rituals begin, Amenhotep takes his place among the priests performing the daily service. Senior though he is, learned though he has become, he is still simply a priest fulfilling his function. The knowledge he carries is not for display or personal pride, but for service. The rituals are performed, the gods are honored, cosmic order is maintained. This is the work that continues night after night, year after year, century after century. Individual priests come and go, but the tradition persists. The knowledge is preserved, the sacred mysteries remain protected and properly transmitted to those prepared to receive them. In the temple's heart, the god rests in the sanctuary, surrounded by the prayers and devotion of countless generations. The statue is just stone and gold, yet it is also a genuine dwelling place of divine presence. Both are true, and the priest who understands both serves more effectively than one who sees only surface appearance or only abstract reality. The restricted knowledge of the Egyptian priesthood was never meant to be publicized, not because the priests were hoarding secrets, but because they understood that wisdom requires proper context and preparation. What seems like mystery or exclusion from outside is revealed as careful pedagogy from within, a system designed to ensure that knowledge reaches those who can properly understand and use it, that no stage of learning is skipped, that the tradition remains coherent and effective across generations. The temples of Egypt, with their graduated access, their hierarchies of knowledge, their careful preservation and transmission of sacred wisdom, represent one of humanity's great experiments in maintaining and transmitting complex understanding across millennia. The system was not perfect. Humans are fallible, and systems can be corrupted. But it succeeded in preserving a sophisticated religious and philosophical tradition for over 3,000 years. Modern readers, distant from that world by both time and culture, can only glimpse what the Egyptian priests knew. The full experiential dimension of their knowledge is lost, the living practice that gave meaning to the texts and teachings. But we can understand the structure, appreciate the sophistication, recognize the wisdom in their approach to preserving and transmitting knowledge. And we can see echoes of their system in later traditions, in the mystery schools of Greece and Rome, in the esoteric teachings of various religions, in the academic apprenticeship systems that still govern advanced learning today. The Egyptian priests demonstrated principles that remain valid, that knowledge builds on knowledge, that wisdom requires maturity, that some truths can only be understood by those who have prepared themselves through years of study and practice. The sun has fully set now. The temple is dark except for the eternal lamps that burn before the sanctuary. Amenhotep makes his final rounds, checking that all is in order, that the sacred spaces are properly sealed, that the night watch is prepared. Then he retires to his quarters, an old man now, his life's work nearly complete. But the work itself continues. Tomorrow the sun will rise, the rituals will be performed, new students will begin their training, the ancient tradition will persist for another day, and if the gods are willing, for many more days, many more years, preserving and transmitting the hidden knowledge of Egyptian priests until the time comes, as it eventually must, for the tradition to transform into new forms for new ages. The knowledge was never truly secret, only restricted to those prepared to receive it. And in this way, paradoxically, it remained pure and effective, serving both those who possessed it and those who benefited from its application without knowing its depths. The keepers of sacred knowledge fulfilled their function, maintaining the connection between heaven and earth, preserving wisdom across the generations, ensuring that the gods remained present among humanity and cosmic order continued to prevail.